You sleep 8 hours and wake exhausted. You rest all weekend and return to Monday already depleted. You take breaks, you hydrate, you practice self-care, and still, by 2 p.m., your body feels like it's moving through concrete. This is not a sleep problem. This is not a nutrition problem. This is not even a rest problem. You have confused the symptom with the disease. Fatigue is not what you think it is. It is not the absence of energy. It is the presence of resistance, and that resistance lives in every decision you refuse to make permanent. Your ancestors did not experience chronic fatigue the way you do, not because their lives were easier, but because their lives were simpler. They woke when the sun rose. They ate what they killed or gathered. They slept when darkness came. There was no negotiation. The day was not a series of choices. It was a pattern, and the pattern was survival. You wake up and immediately begin negotiating with yourself. Should I exercise now or later? What should I eat? Do I really need to work on that project today? Can I skip this meeting? Is this email urgent? By 9 a.m., you have made 47 decisions. By noon, you have made 200. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for executive function, is a muscle. It fatigues. Every decision you make draws from the same limited reservoir of mental energy, and you are draining it before you ever begin the work that matters. This is decision fatigue, and it is killing you slowly. Not dramatically, not visibly, but in the quiet collapse that happens every afternoon when you tell yourself you just need more coffee, more willpower, more motivation. You do not need more of anything. You need less. You need fewer decisions. You need to stop treating your life like an open negotiation and start treating it like a closed system. The Zen monks understood this in the year 1200. Their day was not designed for inspiration. It was designed for elimination. They woke at the same time. They meditated at the same time. They ate the same meals. They worked in silence. They slept at the same hour, not because they were robots, because they understood that energy is not created by rest. It is protected by structure, gyoji, continuous practice, the elimination of the question itself. You believe you are tired because you work too hard. You are tired because you are working against yourself. Every time you decide what to eat, you spend energy. Every time you decide whether to exercise, you spend energy. Every time you renegotiate your morning routine, you spend energy. And by the time you sit down to do the work that actually requires focus, you have already spent the day's budget on maintenance decisions. This is the first principle. Eliminate the reversible decision. Make permanent what should never have been negotiable. You do not decide whether to brush your teeth. You do not debate whether breathing is worth the effort. These actions are automatic because they were made permanent long ago. Your brain does not categorize them as choices. It categorizes them as conditions of existence. Everything that drains you daily is draining you because you left it reversible. Your wake time, your meal timing, your exercise slot, your work start, your wind down ritual. You kept them all negotiable, and your brain interprets every negotiable action as a threat. Not a conscious threat, a primitive one. The basal ganglia, the ancient part of your brain responsible for habit formation, does not understand nuance. It understands pattern or chaos. When your behavior is inconsistent, your brain remains in a state of low-grade vigilance. It cannot relax because it cannot predict. And a brain that cannot predict is a brain in survival mode. Survival mode is expensive. It burns glucose at an accelerated rate. It keeps cortisol elevated. It prevents deep rest even when you sleep 8 hours. Your body's not recovering because your brain never left the battlefield. You want to stop being tired? Stop giving your brain a reason to stay alert. This is the second principle. Anchor every behavior to an unchanging time. Not a rough window, not morning-ish or after work. An exact time, repeated daily, with no exceptions for mood or convenience. The temple bell rings at 4 a.m. It does not ring at 4:03 because the monk felt uninspired. It does not ring at 4:15 because the monk had a rough night. It rings at 4 a.m. because that is when it rings, and the monk rises because that is what the bell means. Your life has no bell. You are waiting to feel like doing the thing before you do the thing, and that waiting is the fatigue itself. Motivation is not a prerequisite for action. It is a result of action. The monks do not meditate because they feel peaceful. They feel peaceful because they meditate. The sequence matters. You have reversed it. You are waiting for energy to take action, when action is what creates energy. Not the frantic action of productivity theater, the calm action of repetition. When you remove the decision, you remove the resistance. When you remove the resistance, you remove the drain. Your body is not tired from doing, it is tired from deciding whether to do. Fix the time, make it permanent. Let the question die. This is the third principle. Reduce your decision load to 5 non-negotiables. Not 50, not 20. 5. These are the actions that, if performed daily at the same time, will eliminate 80% of your decision fatigue. They are not the only things you do. They are the things that anchor everything else. 1. Wake time. 2. Exercise time. 3. First meal time. 4. Work start time. 5. Sleep time. Everything else is secondary. Everything else can flex. But these 5 are the scaffolding. When they are consistent, your brain can finally relax. It knows what comes next. It stops preparing for chaos. You will resist this. You will tell yourself it is too rigid, that life is unpredictable, that you need flexibility for spontaneity, for creativity, for balance. Good. That resistance is proof you have been operating in chaos long enough that structure feels like a cage. It is not a cage. It is the foundation that makes everything else possible. The most creative people in history were not free spirits floating through unstructured days. They were disciplined machines. Hemingway wrote at 6 a.m. every morning. Maya Angelou rented a hotel room and arrived at the same time daily. Haruki Murakami runs at 4 p.m., writes at the same hours, sleeps at the same time, and has done so for decades. Not because they lacked inspiration, because they understood that inspiration is the result of showing up, not the requirement. You think structure will kill your creativity. Structure is what allows your creativity to survive past Tuesday. This is the fourth principle. Protect your morning from decision contamination. The first 90 minutes after you wake will determine the energy trajectory of your entire day. Not because morning is magical, because your prefrontal cortex is fully charged and you are about to spend it. Spend it on what matters or spend it on what is easy. Most people check their phone within 3 minutes of waking. They scroll email, news, messages. They do not realize they have just imported 40 strangers' problems into their brain before they have solved a single problem of their own. By the time they sit down to work, they are already defending against the world. Your morning should be a closed system. No input, no negotiation, no browsing. Wake, water, move, fuel, work, in that order. At the same time every single day, not because it is fun, because it is automatic. And automatic actions do not cost energy. They generate it. You will notice something strange after 66 days of this. You will stop feeling tired in the way you used to. Not because you are sleeping more, because your brain is no longer treating every day like a fresh disaster to manage. It knows the pattern. It trusts the pattern. It can finally allocate energy to output instead of hoarding it for survival. This is the fifth principle. Build your environment to eliminate the choice before it arrives. Willpower is not a renewable resource. It is a finite reserve that depletes with every decision. If you rely on willpower to make the right choice, you will fail. Not because you are weak, because you are finite. The solution is not stronger willpower. It is fewer choices. Lay out your exercise clothes the night before. Prepare your first meal in advance. Charge your phone outside your bedroom. Remove the apps that drain your attention. Make the default action the correct action. The monks did not resist distraction through superior discipline. They lived in an environment where distraction did not exist. The temple had no phone, no news, no variable meal options. The structure was the environment, and the environment made discipline unnecessary. You live in an environment designed to fracture your attention and drain your energy. Every app, every notification, every choice is optimized to keep you engaged, which means keeping you depleted. You cannot out-discipline a deliberately engineered addiction. You can only remove the mechanism. Delete the app. Turn off the notification. Remove the option. Make the correct choice the only choice. When the environment is fixed, behavior becomes effortless. This is the sixth principle. Stop measuring energy by how you feel in the moment. You will have days where you wake up and feel terrible, where your body aches, where your mind resists, where everything in you says to stay in bed. You will go anyway, not because you are inspired, because the time is the time, and the action is the action, and feelings are irrelevant. Here is what most people do not understand about energy. It does not precede action, it follows it. You do not wait until you feel energized to move. You move and energy arrives. The first 5 minutes of exercise feel brutal. The next 15 feel manageable. After 20, you feel alive. Not because your body changed, because you overrode the primitive signal that said to conserve resources, and your brain realized there was no actual threat. Most fatigue is not physical. It is your brain predicting difficulty and preemptively shutting you down to avoid the cost. When you act anyway, you teach your brain its predictions are wrong. Over time, the resistance weakens. Not because you got stronger, because your brain reclassified the action from threat to pattern. This is the seventh principle. Use fatigue as feedback, not as a stopping point. There is a difference between depletion and damage. Depletion is normal. It is the result of effort. It means you use your capacity. It recovers with rest. Damage is abnormal. It is the result of overload or injury. It does not recover with rest alone. It requires intervention. Most people cannot tell the difference because they have never pushed past depletion long enough to know what recovery feels like. They feel tired, so they stop. They feel tired after stopping, so they rest more. They feel tired after resting, so they assume something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. They are just deconditioned. When you train consistently, you learn the difference between my body is tired from effort and my body is breaking down. The first is a signal to rest and return. The second is a signal to adjust. Most of what you call chronic fatigue is just the accumulation of inconsistent effort. You push hard for 3 days, crash, rest for a week, repeat. Your body never adapts because the pattern is chaos. Consistency does not mean maximum effort. It means minimum viable effort, repeated until it becomes effortless. You do not need to run 10 miles. You need to run 1 mile at the same time every day for 66 days. The distance is irrelevant. The pattern is everything. They will call you obsessive. Let them. They will say you have no balance, no flexibility, no joy. Let them. They are tired every single day, and they think that is normal. They are managing their exhaustion with caffeine and weekends and vacation days, and they think that is health. It is not health. It is maintenance of dysfunction. You are building something different. You are building a life where energy is not something you chase. It is something you generate through structure, protected through elimination, and sustained through repetition. When your discipline makes others uncomfortable, you are operating at the correct level. Now decide what time you will wake tomorrow. Not roughly. Exactly. Make it permanent. Let the negotiation end.